This video is sponsored by Squarespace. You can make your own beautiful website or online store with this all-in-one platform. Hi everyone, today I am filling multiple pages in my sketchbook and I'm just kind of messing around with different supplies and like trying some new things. So the first page you see here, I grabbed one of my favorite random markers that I have. I wouldn't recommend this marker necessarily. It's just like a basic felt tip pen. It's not waterproof. It's nothing fancy. I think it might be from like dollar store or it's just some random marker that I accumulated. I think my mom gave it to me a long time ago, and it's always so fun to sketch with this marker because the lines are just so thick and the ink is so vibrant. Like it's very, very dark. And I like it for that, but it is not waterproof at all. You can actually get some cool effects by going on top of it with water and adding some shading and like blending the ink around. So one day I doodled all these fruits in my sketchbook, and then for this video, I'm filling like 3 pages in my sketchbook, I think. So I wanted to start with this one and add some color to it with a supply that won't like muddy the black outlines because they are not waterproof. So I decided to use my pastels, the Caran d'Ache pastels, the watercolor ones. I was torn between using them and pencil crayons, but I find these more enjoyable to use than pencil crayon because they don't take as much pressure. It doesn't take as much like effort or hand cramping to get the color onto the page, and it's just a lot easier to fill large spaces, and I just find them a lot nicer to use. It's a lot more fun to use them compared to pencil crayons. So I also wanted to fill the page a little bit more with more fruit because I just wanted it to be like a nice full page of just like summery, colorful fruit in a style that I don't normally do. Just kind of like trying new things, just seeing what happens. Like, don't be afraid to draw something, even if it's not like what you usually do, or it's not like your usual process, or it feels like you're doing something that's too easy, because like I find drawing stuff like this pretty easy and calming. So it's a good way to get your juices flowing, I guess, get the creative juices flowing to start with something kind of easy, while also working on like shading them and making them look like they actually have form and they're shiny, and like adding multiple colors within the fruit. So like if something's red, I'm not just gonna only use red for that fruit. I'm gonna use like light oranges, peachy colors, purples, whatever like reflected light that might be on it. Add some shading, and that's how you can add a lot of depth. You don't just use one color. You can mix a lot of different hues together to create something that looks very lifelike, but also a very simplified style. And I had a lot of fun with this page. This page was so much fun. I think because I just didn't have to think too hard. It was a really good way to warm up, and I just love using these pastels. And I also used an acrylic marker to do some white highlights on top of the fruit, because that really adds a lot, but these are not water-based. These pastels can be activated with water, and the acrylic marker is like watery, so when you go on top of it, it kind of like blends with it, so it ends up being like light blue highlights instead of white. And then you have to make sure you get all of the pigment out of the end of the marker and don't let it sit like that, or it will like stain the white marker. So it's not the best white highlights, but I think you could go over it twice and do it. I'm not like too precious about my art supplies. I don't like stress about like what if I ruin them. I'm not reckless with them either, but I just kind of like let myself use them as much as I can. Like with markers, sometimes I'll use them over pencil, which isn't the best because it can like get in the nib. But the markers I use aren't like expensive Copics, or they're not like alcohol based or anything like that. They're just water-based markers. I don't really use alcohol markers anyways. I do have some, but I haven't used them in years. I mean, I actually used one recently because I was experimenting with it, and I just don't know if they're for me anymore. They're a little too like smooth for my kind of style, but I think you could definitely like do a base color of marker and then add your own texture, but I prefer to do base colors with other things like watercolor, marker, stuff that offers a little bit more texture to work with. Now for a break to thank Squarespace, which is the sponsor of this video. I've been using Squarespace to host my website for a few years now, and every time I want to update my portfolio, it's very easy to go in and edit the gallery tool, which is where you can upload all of your images, drag and drop them to rearrange your portfolio, and the automatic image scaling makes sure that all of your pieces are displayed beside each other nicely. If you want to get started making your own website, I'd recommend browsing through all of their templates. It's a very easy way to get started, and you can always customize the template to suit your brand. You can change the font, the colors, and all sorts of things. You can also check out Squarespace Blueprint, which is a new template builder where you can select different blocks you want to include on your website and it will generate a template for you. If you're an artist and you want to display your artwork online, I definitely recommend you check out Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/JelArts to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now back to the video. Then on the next page, I decided I wanted to draw dogs because I realized I don't think I've drawn them in a while, and I really like drawing dogs, and I felt immediately very rusty. I was struggling drawing their body. I find like the torso of the dog and like the chest area kind of difficult to tell what is going on and how I want to translate it to paper. So this first dog was a little bit of a challenge. It's kind of rough, not my best work, but I just decided to fill the rest of this page with more like dog doodles, rough sketches. I was trying to get out all the cobwebs of like drawing dogs and trying to like just go for it. The first one I used a pencil sketch, but the rest of them, I just went straight in with the marker and tried to be confident with my lines and let mistakes happen, because this is not a perfect page by far. It's more of like a study page, trying to practice, get stuff down quickly, not like too perfectionistic about any of these. Just kind of like scrolling through Pinterest, finding references of dogs that I want to try to draw and drawing them. And it was pretty freeing, but I was also like worried the whole time, like, oh, this page is a little like, there's some not so good art on this page. And I felt pressured to like add stuff that looked nicer. So I did a lot of portraits because those are easier than the full body. But I think this helped me warm up a lot. But I was really struggling drawing dogs today for some reason. I don't know why, maybe because it's been a while or because I was a little like self-conscious. Some days just aren't as good art days as others, and this day I was really enjoying drawing the fruit, but when it came to the dogs, it was like, what am I doing? But I think the page after this one turned out a lot nicer. This one is like the messy, experimental, just like doing whatever you want. The kind of page that when you make it, you're like, what if someone sees this and they think that like, this is all I can draw? I don't know how to explain it, because some people might look at this page and they don't see anything wrong with it. But it was a lot of fun, but I think I overdid it with the shadows and I kind of like flattened the dog, the big dog. It's just like, it's not the best. But I had a lot of fun, and that's all that matters. And the next page, I was like, I think I drew a dog and erased it, and you can see all the eraser shavings on the table. And I was like, why can't I draw today? Like, what is wrong? But then I think something sort of clicked. It started to get a little easier, but there were still a few that stumped me, honestly. I was just trying to slow down, really look at the reference photo of the dog that I was trying to draw, and try to remember that, like, you don't have to do it exactly the same. Like, you can simplify certain areas and you can, like, give it your own style. You don't have to make it realistic. Like, you can draw the eye as just a dot. You can do all of these things. And I started to get a little more comfortable, but like I still struggle so much with like the front part of the dog, like the chest area is so difficult for me. Like the way that the legs come up into the chest and the neck, like that whole area is a mystery. And this was making me want to break out my like study sketchbook and just scribble down dogs and not even worry about how they look and just use it as like a learning experience. The kind of drawings that I usually wouldn't show anybody, except for maybe like on Patreon or something. Well, there's a lot of art that I show on YouTube that I wouldn't necessarily show someone in person. Like, I think I don't remember if I showed those like study books before, the ones where I was just like really trying to learn to draw animals better, and I would just do like tons of like gesture drawings of animals and just fill pages. Nothing pretty, like just to study and practice. I don't remember if I've actually shown those sketchbooks before. I've talked about them before. I did those kind of drawings in like a cheap sketchbook from IKEA. I think I still have that sketchbook, but that sketchbook is somewhere in my closet, and I prefer to just work on my main sketchbook instead of doing a bunch of studies. But like honestly, I wouldn't mind breaking that out. But I don't know. I don't want to like separate the bad sketches, and I'm doing air quotes when I say that, from like the good ones, because I kind of like to have everything contained in one sketchbook. And it's sort of like not like a diary, some kind of diary that shows the kinds of things I was drawing at the time, the kinds of media I was using, how I like to stylize things, and like all the subject matter that I wanted to draw at that time. Because there's some sketchbooks where I definitely have like trends where I like obsess over one certain subject matter for a bit, and then in the next sketchbook it's something else. When I first started drawing, I like to draw a lot of people and like anime style stuff, and I don't do that anymore. I do draw people still, but I don't draw like anime stuff or like OCs. I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. And I think I used to draw like a lot of birds, but like I draw a lot of frogs and like raccoons and like little critters now, but I still draw a lot of birds. I don't know. You can kind of see like trends come and go throughout your art journey when you flip through all your old sketchbooks. And I just like to keep everything in one sketchbook. But sometimes you do need a little bit of like practice. You need like room to not worry about how things look and to just like be free to explore. Like how in life drawing class, you have like a big sheet of really cheap paper. I think the paper pads were like $1 or something. I don't know how much they would be nowadays. And you literally spend like 30 seconds on each drawing. Like that kind of thing can be really helpful, but you don't always necessarily want that kind of art in your main sketchbook, but you also might not care. Anyways, I like the way this other page turned out with these dogs. I think it turned out a little bit nicer. I tried to make this one look more like how I like to usually do things, where I do like a sketch, I add some watercolor and do some black outlines on top to like add little details here and there. Sometimes I like to do pencil crayon outlines and not black marker, because sometimes it can make it a little bit more interesting by having all those different colors. But when I'm feeling like taking it more easy and like I want more of like a contrast with the line work, I'll use a brush pen like this one. It's a Tombow brush pen, one of my favorite pens. It's a waterproof. It's really great, and I feel like they have lasted me for years. I have different ones though. I think I have like 4. They come in a pack of 2, and I think I have like 4 floating around my different pencil cases and drawers that have lasted for a really long time. And I also just, whenever I draw dogs, I love drawing like spots on them. I think it's my favorite, like it's my favorite way to draw dogs, because it helps you define the like contours of the dog. If it's all one solid color, it's a little bit more difficult to get it to look good, because like a big flat area of like one texture is kind of hard to color, as opposed to like a bunch of spots and patterns. So that's why I do that a lot. I had a lot of fun filling multiple pages. I think the fruit page is my favorite, even though there's lots of other art like that out there. I just had a lot of fun drawing like summer fruits, all the bright colors, and drawing dogs was fun. I'm not like a huge fan of the left page, but I like the right one. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing me draw all these different things and fill like 3 pages in my sketchbook, and I'll see you in my next video.